Boom, hello and welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Byron Rodgers. This podcast is dedicated to the executive protection practitioner, the private security professional. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the mental, emotional, psychological, physiological fitness that goes into being an efficient and effective executive protection agent. Whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're a mom that's looking at how to protect her children, or a father that's focused on how to protect his family, I believe this podcast has something for all of you. We might even get into some tales from the crypts of true Hollywood stories from time to time. I'm doing this podcast because I feel the reality of this job is simple. If you really want to be good at executive protection, it's more than just a job. It really is a lifestyle. And those of you who've been in the game for any serious amount of time, you already know what I'm saying is true. So if that sounds interesting to you, enjoy the show. Out. Boom. Hey, what's up, guys? Byron Rodgers here once again, CEO of a private security company out of Orange, California. I'm here with Erich Schmidt. We actually have known each other for quite some time, but it's an honor to have you here on the show, man. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's more of an honor to be here. Trust me. I've followed you for a long time.
Hey, thanks, man. Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit about cybersecurity, some spooky stuff, the stuff that nobody thinks about, but is becoming a bigger and bigger deal, I'd say, today for sure. But me and you go way back, actually, like kind of way back, huh? Like nutrition shops and stuff back. Like, what was I? I was like just starting an EP when I first met you, huh?
It must have been at least 10 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was about 10 years ago. And I guess we can get into your background, man. What have you done since? Were you doing spooky stuff back then?
Yeah, but I didn't know it. So that's kind of the weird thing. Yeah. So where I'm at now is I went from health and nutrition over to law enforcement, ended up going that route, and ended up finding myself in a high-tech crimes technology kind of unit. And that's why we're here talking about cyber.
That's awesome. I recently went to one of your kind of open source, I don't know what you would really call open source information. For me, it was like an open source reconnaissance type of deal, course that you taught, which was ridiculously informative and really showed me it really opened my eyes to how vulnerable people are, even if they stay on the beaten path of like normal social media habits, that I really appreciated and was very impressed by, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I was kind of blown away. I was like, man, it's been a while since we've caught up, but my main man, he knows what he's doing. Like, I got loose ends I got to clean up myself. But, as the world kind of evolves and more of us put more of our information online and more of us do more stuff in like cyber space, if that's what they even call it, it seems like understanding how to protect yourself in the cyber realm is like it's becoming more and more important. What would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing about it is it kind of depends on your level of paranoia, right? So like, okay, you've got a lot of stuff out there, but I mean, to you, it's like, who cares? So what? Have it. Yeah, it's already out there, right? So that's kind of where it's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, our stuff is out there for sure.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things, because it kind of came at the same time, one of the other things that got me kind of keyed in on it was, man, like when I was talking to Ed Calderon a few episodes ago, and I was like, yo, what can civilians do to make themselves less attractive targets for abductions and kidnappings? What do civilians do to like make themselves attractive targets? And he's like, social media. Like he didn't even hesitate. Like it was like social media, bro. I was like, what?
Yeah, and I even shot you a text right after that. I was like, dude, he hit it on the head.
Yeah, you did. So, like that whole social media, like your habits on social media. And I actually had someone reach out to me the other day that was like, hey, I'm going to go to I'm going on vacation. What are some do's and don'ts? I want to be able to, navigate this country that's a little sketch effectively. What should we do? And I even reached out to someone, I think it was a few months back, and they were talking about how they were going to be gone for like a month on vacation and like before they even left. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, stop. you know? But if that's not your world, it's an understandable mistake, man. And then also with regards to being able to offer protection, I think that a lot of companies need to look at being able to offer a cyber aspect to that. But back to you, man. Why do you do what you do, brother? You know,
Yeah.
big, strong dude. Like, why aren't you like, you know, ground pounding? You know what I mean?
Maybe one day, man.
Yeah. No, you're just
you know, I kind of just stumbled into it. And, you know, the thing is, and the thing that I love that you do so much is that you talk about this lifestyle, and, you know, there's some real evil out there.
right.
For sure. And the internet has made it so much easier to commit crimes or to stalk people. And that's because we've removed that personal distance, you know, so I don't have to be near your executive anymore to harass or annoy him or get at him. Now I can do it from the internet.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I do what I do because I have an aptitude for it, but because there's also a need to protect people online in whatever capacity that is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, like, once I saw that need and started to perceive that, and I've had a number of like hybrid threats, and we all have, that have happened over the years with clients. And, you know, this really is what's moved me to start looking or opening up like the cyber wing of my company, Bravo Research Group. Shameless plug. Anyways,
Amen.
You know, if your clients have something going on, think about, you know, knowing the right people that can help you. But really, you know, how often does your client get a weird message from social media from, you know, creeper number 445, 46 of the year, you know, or, you know, 400th of the year. And you're sitting here, you're looking at this text message, and it's like, there's a number of different ways to look at getting the information you need about that person to understand them. But there's also a lot of information that's out there online that you as a team can learn how to do and learn how to get a hold of, you know. So, you know, this is kind of like, you know, if you're thinking about your security detail, we're getting threats all the time. That it validates our work, validates what we're doing, understanding what we can do to either protect our clients in the cyber realm, and then also, you know, what we can do to investigate who these people are and what they are is really what got my attention. And then also obviously makes suggestions about what we can do offensively, you know, instead of just looking for a bolo, you know, to deal with that threat. So how would you estimate your skills against the opposition? Like, how good are they, like, bad guys at like doing a lot of this cyber war stuff? That's
a good question. You know, the interesting thing about cyber is that we're all kind of nerds, right?
Right.
So we all share the information, and we all go to DEF CON, and we all talk, and we learn from each other. And in my experience, for the most part, the hacker community seems to be, you know, a lot of good people doing the right thing. And I believe that most people are inherently good. So I'm good. I've got good skills, but for sure there's people way, way better out there. And, you know, I hope that we just learn from each other and kind of level the playing field a little bit.
So you're like a good hacker. Okay.
Yeah, we call that a white hat hacker.
A white hat hacker. That's what's up. That's
black hat.
No, that's what's scary about it. Is it's like Revenge of the Nerds on the out here, you know. What are a few good tools, like, you know, for civilians or guys that aren't law enforcement, if they're trying to look into someone's information? You know, say we get a message from somebody threatening the client. We get a message from somebody, you know, making advances towards the client, and the client's like, hey, look into this. Where do we start?
The good thing about, you know, the cyber world is I'm going to tell you my workflow right here, my secret.
Boom, here we go. With the
steps. First step, Google shit. Second step is just click on it. Yeah. And that's kind of how all these investigations happen. And I'd be actually curious to know, how common are cyber type threats in your world? Like, is it the crazies that are coming after your clients, or is it just, you know, why target an executive in this manner?
It's going to depend on your client demographics, right? So you're going to have like celebrities that are getting like weird messages all the time, you know, and those can sometimes, if they're weird enough, they draw some attention, you know, and there's like a whole department going through those, assistants going through those. But I mean, those guys are getting weird messages all the time. People are sifting through them, you know. An executive, you have like executives that are like mid-level visibility, where, you know, like, what's my man? Tesla. You know what I mean? Like my dude who's doing, what's his name? It's not coming to me right now.
Elon Musk.
Yes, Elon Musk, like you have executives like this that are like somewhat known, but they're not like, they are celebrities, you know what I mean? Like ever since you went on the Joe Rogan podcast and stuff like that. But you have a number of CEOs and things like that are quasi known, and they're going to also get weird messages. Really what happens is people that are like not in their inner circle, but somewhere in their circles somewhere, usually start sending them messages that know who they are and kind of where they are, or are actually even a lot of times inside the corporation somewhere, that have beef with the corporation. A lot of the types of incidents you get have like a workplace violence undertone or like motivation to them as well. So that's what I've seen in the corporate world with regards to like threats and a lot of actionable things that have taken place there. I think that a lot of the time with our clients in executive protection, just for being at the level they're at, they tend to have a considerable following. Like even my clients that are hush hush, like there's still enough people that know who they are that a dozen times a year you get something that's like actionable, that's got a few sentences in it that are like, oh, they're crossing the line there. Maybe we can get a knock and talk. We can get some cops and just ask them about what they meant when they said that, and that's when we kind of take a more, I call it offensive security. Some people don't like that posture, but for me, it's like, okay, I see something happening. I'm going to go on ahead and like not proactively set up a defense. Like I'm going to go on ahead and do something, start some chain of events that's going to like get that person to take a step back.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man. So that's what I'd say about that. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. So I guess that kind of brings up a good point in that, as far as executive protection goes, the goal of an attacker would be to either extort or embarrass your client. So, when it comes to digital data and what's out there about you, as long as you don't mind the stuff that's out there embarrassing you, you've already defeated one of those kind of threats or one of the reasons why someone might come after you.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed also too, a lot of the tones of inappropriate messages and signals that we get offline, infatuation, wanting to get into the client. But like, we're talking like, 5149 status, like, talking about just crazy stuff in the message. And then how like that person is your bride or the husband of the client, the true bride, and they're going to find them and all this stuff, so a lot of it is people that get into their delusions and then they want to get close to the client. And so I guess even with that threat, like you were saying, basically your workflow is get online, do your research on this person.
100%. That's it. I mean, I think that's how everyone, in the class you were in that we did, it was the first exercise I had you guys do was just Google your name and see what comes up. Yeah. That's kind of where I start for most of the investigations.
Mm-hmm. Would you say because I've done that before, and is there some easier way of figuring out if you have the right information? Because I'll get like, I'll go use like Spokio or, one of these softwares, and I'll be like, is this even the right person? Do you cross-reference some of this stuff or?
Yeah. So the big word in my industry is trust but verify. You got the information, you can trust that it's good, but you got to verify using multiple sources to see if that's good. And a lot of time there's false positives, which can lead you to a dead end in an investigation or kind of steer you off course, and that's frustrating about this kind of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust but verify. Use multiple sources. I don't like to pay for a lot of the services. I'm kind of like an open source free tool kind of guy.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I go with it.
Are there any free tools you can talk about on here that are the good ones versus the bad ones?
Yeah, the internet.
Fine.
No, there's a lot of good tools for open source intelligence. One of the bigger ones, I think, is inteltechniques.com. I'm sure that everyone in your audience has heard of that tool.
Yeah.
But again, even those tools are just different ways to query the web databases where all this information is stored to pull it out. So as far as software, hardware, I don't like to pay. Like I said, there's definitely tools out there for like event monitoring and geofencing and that kind of stuff, but I just use the free stuff.
Okay. So the free stuff, there's enough free stuff out there to do a good job is really what you're saying.
100%. Yeah. And I think even in the class that we did, I don't remember showing you guys any tools that were like paid or anything. It was basically just here's how to search this way and go from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what I remember. And that's what I really appreciated about it, man. Cancel my like Spokio membership. What are some applications you could say? What applications have you seen from like the digital world, that you would say are pertinent to the security industry, or even just to like, I don't know, protection?
Yeah, let's talk about the weakest part in all this, which is the human.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
I've seen, the Craigslist, the Backpage stuff before it got taken down. People wanting to go out and do bad things themselves is kind of where they get caught up. They start wandering into a world where maybe they shouldn't be in. Mm-hmm. And the weakest link is a human, and someone online, a hacker, who be it, just extorts that part of them. And then you got a whole new problem.
Like, how do you mean?
Catfishing, man.
Catfishing.
Dating applications, people, Ashley Madison, that sort of stuff.
Uh-huh.
That cyber attack on Ashley Madison just leaked a bunch of records that embarrassed a lot of people.
Wow.
That maybe shouldn't have been there. So weakest link is the human.
Yeah. Essentially, I don't know how to fix that human aspect of things, man. That's just the human aspect of things.
You take like, one of your clients, for example, right? You want to protect them on all sorts of physical levels, but you don't control that phone that they have at night, right? So if they go out and do bad things, slip up, get caught, now you've got a data breach or someone extorting them, from a social media platform that they maybe open themselves up to.
Mm-hmm. Now, something like that happening, like they come to you and they're like, hey, dude, the other night I went and did this thing. Now I've got this guy on my social media who's like, yo, if you don't give me like 10 G's, or whatever, what are the social dynamics that drive this, like the social engineering that drives them?
Yeah. That I know that you're big on social dynamics, and I'm huge on the social engineering side, which is, essentially playing people or using them to divulge information. But, online, like we talked about earlier, it's so easy for me to poach someone or stalk someone, behind that veil of the internet where maybe my photo's not even mine or it's not yours. It's very easy to establish trust and rapport online.
Yeah.
It's 10 times easier than in person.
And so it's kind of, so far it seems like the lesson is don't trust a pretty face.
Right.
Now, if someone is in a situation like that, like, can law enforcement do anything about this stuff? Yeah, because I feel like, we've all gotten the call from the guy who's like, my name is Abdar. I am an IRS representative. If you do not give me the money, you're going to jail right now. That guy, right?
Man, those are rampant.
Yeah, I feel like law enforcement can't really do anything about that because he's in Pakistan for sure. That's where he is.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many complaints we get in, or to be honest, dead end investigations, right? Because you can be somewhere in another country and we're not going to come after you. But clue number one: if that email is not in English and there's some spelling errors, you know what I mean? Yeah. Then it ain't legit. So the number one thing, to prevent yourself from a cyber attack is just to have the knowledge to know kind of what's going on. If you don't know someone that's contacting you, don't respond. Yeah. Lesson number one.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like the ones that I've recognized too, like they're asking for sensitive information in an email. Is that another good one?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if they're asking for, hey, respond back with your phone number, your date of birth, or, where can I wire you some money? Maybe not the best person to go after. One of the funnier ones are the relationship scams, where someone's in a bad situation in another country and they're just looking for love, and they befriend and get into relationships with people who are overseas and don't exist. It's just the funniest thing.
And then they send them money.
Yeah, it is crazy. And it's usually elders that are targeted for this stuff.
Oh, man.
But again, how do you find elderly people? You start with the web search and you find out who the oldest people are in your community.
Yeah. You go on Facebooks and you go on, all those kind of places and you start looking for them.
Yeah.
Another thing I've found works is I look at where the email's coming from. Sometimes they're like, it's like a reputable company. It's like byron.starbucks@gmail.com, it's like reputable company at Gmail with someone's name in front. And I'm like, why don't you have a company email, Yeah.
And it gets even worse when if I'm trying to spoof your email, meaning that, I'm using a service or a method to say that my email is coming from your email address inside your company, So, if you've got a big organization and I'm spoofing your email address, ordering your secretary to go get you some gift cards or something and send them to this address, we have that kind of stuff going on too, where it's not enough to just look at the email address because you'll see it as legit.
Yeah.
In that case, you'd have to go up through the email headers and, kind of work backwards and trace that email.
Yeah. And I guess a good piece here too is like, when in doubt, my new thing is if I get anything like asking me for sensitive information in an email, I send it to HR. Because the last one literally almost got me. Like I was like, nah. And then I was like, fuck this, I'm sending it to HR. And I sent it to HR and they're like, good job. Thank you. We will never ask you for that stuff. But the email address looked legit. Like I thought it was our HR people sending me an email.
You've got to be targeted too. I mean, just knowing that you're a security professional, if I were in another country, knowing that you worked with important people, I'd be like, hey, let's try and poach the security guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure you get those all the time.
Yeah, I get a good amount of. That's why I'm like half decent at recognizing them now, But I got folks to send them to, to send them to. They can. But really, is there any recourse that, like, other than just avoiding it right now? There's no justice for this stuff, is there?
No, I mean it depends. Like everything, it depends. So, we're good. Law enforcement in general is way behind, as we know. We're still catching up. There's a couple places, my advice to you professionally is for sure obtain a police report, file a police report.
Yeah.
They got to take it. So demand that they come out and take a police report. The second thing that I'd recommend too is going to IC3, the letter IC3.gov.
Okay.
And that's a federal resource ran by the FBI that you can go and report your cybercrime. And then those get triaged and investigated out. But that's the second place.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting because
that's a long answer. That's the, like, these guys will eventually, like, catch up with these dudes, That's good to know. At least somebody will be like working on it on the weekends for a while.
Right. And eventually it's going to be, most of our crime, right, is going to be occurring online, because why would I go, rob
physically
that store if I can do it via a wire? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, it's not awesome, but it like makes perfect sense. It's like, why would I what the problem now is, why would I hire a human to do something I get a computer to do? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheaper. It's more efficient. It doesn't get aches and pains and complain and try and sue me, Here we are, man. Times are changing. So, what applications off the top of your head would you say this type of stuff has to security? Are there any other applications that come to mind?
Yeah, there's countless applications, but
right.
If I can get the keys to like your financial freedom, your bank stuff,
yeah,
I essentially control your life until I get what I want from you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just, the physical security. It's a lot of the, and I'd be willing to bet too, that a lot of the physical security, or maybe the instances that you guys run into, come from an online presence where someone's done their homework to research your target. So I would argue that probably a lot of attacks come from an online presence at some point.
There's casing taking place virtually. Is there any way to know if you're being watched or detect somebody stalking you out there?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So there's stuff I can talk about, stuff I can't talk about, but
yeah.
Honestly, one of the best ways to figure out if you're being watched is to just ask a chick, right? Because women seem to know everything about each other on social media, who's liking whose post. And there's applications for Instagram and Facebook, online applications that'll tell you, who your most important followers are, who likes the most of your stuff. If someone's liking every one of your posts and commenting, it doesn't take a genius to find out that you've got a liker,
Yeah, a liker. Okay. The ones that worry me are the ones that just follow you and don't like anything ever. Like those are like a liker is like friendly. A stalker is like that's more like a stalker. Like,
that's why I've been following you, man. You never even knew it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Every now and then I pop in, and then I'm like, "Hey, Byron, come to this class. It's been 10 years, but show up."
Yeah. No, it's the truth, man. I was like, "Oh, hey, that's what's up." I would completely agree with you on that whole, like, a lot of our threats come from a cyber or have a seed of they have to have some kind of cyber contact before they make physical contact nowadays. Like they should build this into the planning cycle, of what's probably taking place before an attack, because you'll almost definitely be seen online. I guess, are there anything that civilians can do to harden themselves in their presence online, make themselves a little harder to victimize, and still have a healthy social media life? Interrogative.
Yeah. The way that I state this to people is if you don't want your mom to see what you're doing online, right, then don't post it, because all the stuff is up there, and a lot of times you can't get it back. But the number one thing I see is weak passwords or reusing passwords.
Okay.
Right. So you got to harden your passwords, and in general, just carelessness about posting too much information. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm sure some of your listeners here are using their dog's name or something as a password, right?
No.
Never, right? Dog 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Yeah, but where do I get your dog's name information from? It's from your Instagram post, and so that's where the social engineering comes into play.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I can guess your dog's name and put a 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end, and maybe I get closer to getting inside your circle. So as far as those are some of the mistakes. The other stuff too, which is kind of surprising, is just the privacy settings. Okay. A lot of people don't know how to navigate the basic privacy settings for Facebook, Instagram, and social media in general.
Yeah.
So you got to learn the platform that you're on. And when you're done with it, delete it, delete your profiles and move on.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. It seems like because the human being is the biggest failure point in the security strategy, educating the human being is the biggest kind of component to really keeping yourself safe.
Yeah, totally. And that's one of the reasons why that class is offered to civilians that you attended to, is just to inform people. It's all out there. It's not like what I'm doing is secret. It's just, how you apply it.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys got to go to that class. There's some real good gouge in there. Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. It's kind of like, for me, the social media game is like, and the online game in general, two things you can't get back: words and bullets. There's three things now: social media posts. That's how I look at it, dude. But anything I've put on there, I've thought through, and I've thought that, I can burn this. Like this is, they can have it. I don't mind if they have it.
Yeah, you're pretty good about that. From a professional standpoint, you've always done really good for years about just controlling what is out there.
Yeah. Thank you. That's good to hear. A little OPSEC game
too. I mean, you're throwing your stuff out there.
Yeah.
Every day you're creating content, man.
Oh yeah.
There's plenty of personal stuff out there for you, but it's like, what's your threat on? It's like, so what?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. What kind of tips would you give civilians about posting? Things you do want to post, things you don't want to post.
Yeah. So for let's take the dog example. So when we talk about social engineering, which is, like we said, using your information to obtain more from you, the way that I would think about it is, if you were to get an email for, let's say based on your public post, that I can see that Byron Rodgers likes guns a lot, right?
Yeah.
Or security stuff. So I might craft an email to you saying, hey, click on this promo code for 50% off 6 hour, coming from their email address. You might click on it, right?
Yeah.
So all that information that I've obtained is from your social stuff.
Okay.
So I would post stuff that, like I said, you don't mind your mom seeing.
Yeah.
And if that stuff comes back to you in an email that's pretty personal and dialed in on your social media, maybe there's something more at play there.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wouldn't post, your address, right? Because that's how you get people to show up at your house, or videos in front of your address, or, people skateboard in front of their house all the time. So we've got license plates, vehicle information, your address, just a lot of data, visual intelligence kind of stuff.
Yeah. And people are big on posting like valuable stuff. I really don't post a lot of videos in my house. Like if you see me in my house posting a video, it's like me with a wall behind me. You know what I mean? Like me with like you see me, dog, floor. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that stuff makes targets. Times and places when you're not going to be home, like schedule information.
Yeah.
Probably be good too, man. Like
That one drives me nuts. I mean, and I'm guilty of it. We all are, but it's like, hey, don't, I'm going to be out of the country for 3 weeks. So don't worry if you can't get a hold of me. It's like, oh,
yeah. Yeah, man. Because I mean, you got to think, I guess one of the most valuable things we do as security practitioners is, assess ourselves and our clients through the eyes of the enemy.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, just do this exercise. Think about your social media freaking flow. What are you posting? When are you posting? How are you posting? Go back and look at what you're doing. And if you were the enemy, would you be able to figure out your schedule and locations through your information? Like pick your friend, like do what my man had us do in the class. Eric had us do this in the class. Look at your friend, go to one of your friends' Facebook pages right now and see what you can figure out if you didn't know them based on what they're posting. And if you can figure out the sensitive stuff, go look at their family tree, look where their families are, pictures of their house, all that stuff. All that information, consider that you're literally telling predators everything that's there.
Yeah, and that's a good point. You mentioned the associate part of it, right? So if I can't find information on a person I'm looking for or target, the next best place to go is their immediate circle. Who are they talking to? It's very likely that you'll end up on one of your buddies' post on Facebook, right? Even if you don't have your own. Mm-hmm. So that's a good place to go for sure.
Yeah. It's like when you find out what a chick really looks like, you go to her, the what is it? The uploads. You go to where her friends just uploaded the photos. And then you're like, that's what you really look like.
Yeah.
Because the friends never really care. They just upload the pictures. Anyways, from my single days, don't be sensitive, people.
It's not that the friends don't care. It's that they want to be pretty in the other ones. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what it is. Post the ones where they're pretty and then anyways. So yeah, consider those things. Consider your circles. Know how to lock your social media profile down so that only friendlies can see it. If you're like me and you're building, trying to build your empire and social media is one of the engines running that, then consider everything that you're posting, because I'm welcoming the public essentially to my platforms.
Which is crazy because when you asked me to do this podcast, you're like, yeah, it's going to be a video. And I'm like, dang, okay.
Right.
But the whole point is, right, it's like, I'm not too paranoid. You watch this video, you get in my face, so be it. I'm a good guy. I'm not up there doing anything bad. So,
yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. No, and that's the game. I'm a good guy too, man. And, we do what we can and we train to be ready. And we, that's the game that we play, man.
That's right.
Heck yeah. I mean, the question is kind of, how does cybersecurity impact physical security? I think these things are like cyclical, like they kind of walk hand in hand. We've kind of been talking about that. Yeah.
And, you can also talk about other things too, like as far as I may or may not have mentioned in class, when you're at the Starbucks, which Wi-Fi are you connecting to? The weakest link is a human, like we said. So if someone really wants to get you, they're going to figure out a way to access your device, and it could be as simple as shoulder surfing. If you're my target and you're at the airport, maybe I just walk up behind you and watch you type in your password on your laptop, so, there's plenty of ways in which cyber related crime comes into play.
Huh. What would you say about the camera on the computer, man? I've seen people have tape over them. I put tape over mine for a little while just in case.
Yeah, I had to take the tape off for this interview.
All right. That's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to know.
There's certainly ways to get into a camera and film people from their devices. I think that's pretty well known now.
Okay.
But you got to think that every single thing that we do now is essentially flying through the air in some kind of, radio wave, Wi-Fi or a hard line, be an Ethernet cable. But that stuff's all connected to the internet. Unless you got, some network hardware in place, firewalls and whatnot, you're going to be vulnerable potentially. So, security has gotten really good for cybersecurity in general, but yeah, that's why the people put that tape up there, because you just never know. Maybe that camera's watching you. But again, if you've got nothing embarrassing going on in front of that camera, then who cares, right? You can listen to my conversation all day. So.
Yeah, right. Okay. But that's good to know, man. That's good. Those are considerations, because it's definitely been in and out of my brain multiple times. Yeah. I'm gonna
put that tinfoil on at night, huh?
Better believe it, man. I'm about to go get some interview. So what are some types of attacks, some types of, cyber attacks that take place that people should be aware of?
Yeah, I guess the biggest and the most common, we've seen some very creative scams and crimes, but essentially most of these attacks are happening from user error. So someone clicks on a link or they think they won the lottery and it's being held up in some other country. And if they just send back their information, they'll get it. So most importantly, if you don't recognize a source or what's going on, who the email's from, don't click on it. Yeah.
It's too good to be true if it's too good to be true.
That's right, man. If you don't know where your money's coming from, your income, then, it's unlikely you've got a secret source. And if you do, I want to know about it because I'm going to get into some of that too. Yeah, just, know what you're clicking on. Don't be complacent. Just like we check our doors at our homes, in our windows, we make sure everything's locked up. If you're in a foreign country or on a business trip and you're logged in somewhere, first of all, don't log in on the foreign machine. But second of all, don't stay logged in. It's funny, I was in a country on vacation and they had a computer in the room and I needed to use it for whatever reason. And I'm like the last person to use someone else's computer, but we had to use it. And I fire up the internet and there's someone logged into their Yahoo email account. And I'm like, God, how crazy can you be? You don't know who's in this room.
Right. So what types of attacks are out there? Because I hear you guys talk about spearing attacks, spear phishing attacks, and octopus attacks, and all these cool sounding things on them.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the
can you give us a quick? These are the animals in the forest, and these are what they do, kind of thing.
Yeah. So phishing is the one that we've been talking about. The organizational email where I'm trying to target you via an email to kind of get your credentials or get inside your organization, however it may be. Spear phishing would be the more direct way where I'm offering Byron that 50% off discount on the gun store and I'm after Byron specifically. You got ransomware, which is huge. And I'll tell you what, that's a huge problem. Ransomware is where essentially, whatever method it comes in, you click on a link or you do something to basically encrypt your computer and a screen will pop up and say, hey, send me, 100 Bitcoin to unlock and get your files back. So it's basically hostage.
Oh no. Yeah. Is that real? That real. Happens to people, bro.
It's very common.
What do you do?
You're hosed, man. Is
the computer really? Did they really got your computer?
They got it. Yeah, and we've seen it's getting so bad now to where we're seeing people controlling other people.
Yeah.
In the same kind of scenario, but with their phone. So I can walk it to the bank and have you dump, your bank account to me to get your computer back, and I can watch you walk down to the bank the whole time. So there's some crazy scenarios going on, but the ransomware is a huge one. And the problem with ransomware is if I'm a company that's guarded to protect your information or my customer's information, and I need to get that back ASAP, I'll probably pay the ransom to get those files back. But of course, the problem then is that you don't have a clean system. I'm going to come back with ransomware the next week and get you for double the price.
Yeah. Don't negotiate with terrorism.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so is this ransomware thing everyone being targeted or just civilian, just execs and corporate stuff? Or is this everybody can get, is this an express kidnapping problem yet?
Yeah, there's very targeted events. And then there's also casting the wide net because it could take me just a few minutes to go set up a ransomware and attack someone if I wanted to. And, so that brings up, I guess, a second defense is we talked about is something embarrassing to you. If not, don't worry about it. As long as you don't keep anything embarrassing or super private on your computer and you got good backups, that haven't been touched by the ransomware, it's I can just rebuild my system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can start over. I can lose my documents. I
got clouds. There's a brother, son. Have it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Some of the other scams, we've seen the romance.
Hold on with this ransomware though. How do we recognize, what don't you click on to not hit the ransomware tripwire? How does this go down? You know what I'm saying? It's dudes late night on his websites and then all of a sudden, boom, gotcha. Or is this dudes just trying to go to his favorite website, clicks on an ad and it's gotcha.
Yeah. There's so many ways.
Do they have to click on something or is this just you open your computer and it's it's your turn?
Yeah, usually it's user initiated. So I clicked on something or I did something I shouldn't have, or I tried to download, Photoshop for free because I'm cheap, and so I went to some BitTorrent website and I tried to download the legitimate Photoshop and I got a bad one, so it could be, downloading music, videos,
Do you have to download something in order for this to take place?
No, it can.
Dang it.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of ways it can get in your system, but from what we're seeing in most of the cases, it's targeted.
Okay.
So like big data. So hospitals are targeted, banks are targeted. The people with the most bang for their buck, right? Okay. Because someone ransomwares my computer, I'm not going to pay. Someone asks for $100. I'm going to say nope. I'm going to start over.
Yeah.
I don't have $100 to pay for that,
Yeah.
But you're talking about millions of bank records and hospital records and HIPAA violations, health record compliance stuff or credit card compliance. Maybe that organization can spend $2 million to get their data back, to remain in compliance.
So you really kind of probably something that bigger fish in the sea you've got to be kind of a more attractive target to attract these stinking computer ransom guys.
Yeah, I'd say so. For now.
Now, yeah, exactly. Until it turns into an express kidnapping thing. Everyone's got at least $500. I'll take you to the ATM machine. Yeah. Okay. So usually you said victim initiated. So usually you're like probably going off the beaten path somewhere, being enticed off the beaten path somewhere.
Maybe you're on the dark web poking around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you step in something and you're caught and they're like, yo, give me your stuff. What other types of traps do we have?
We talked about the romance scam. You got just any of those funny looking emails, man.
But this romance scam, like this is the one where people are like, hey, like I love you and I'm a little bit way too hot to be loving you.
Yeah.
And someone just wants to believe it. So they do.
Lonely dude, looking for a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Finds a catfish, pretty looking girl that says, I just want to be with you. I want to come to your country and marry you, but you just got to send money back to my family to help us out, And it's usually elderly people that are targeted. Uh-huh. But again, these people are getting fished from online, right? So they're just trolling the internet looking for people to attack. That's all that they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. What else kind of parties do we have going on out there?
Oh God, man, there's so many. I've seen the you've got a warrant for your arrest, come down and pay it scam.
Really?
Yeah.
And where do you pay it? You go to the cop.
Yeah, wire it here, send it there.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one that my wife had a couple months ago where the guy's like, I am Mohammed. I am an IRS representative. Yeah. Badge number 445689. And I was like, just give me the phone. Give me the phone, babe. She was all
That's a big one. The IRS scam?
Yeah, man. She was all like, babe, what do we do? I'm like, God bless you. Give me the phone.
Yeah. Man, if the IRS wants to get a hold of you, they're going to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going to call you up and say, pay this fee real quick.
Right.
So
or they're just going to garnish your wages.
Yeah.
That's real. That happens in America. Okay. Anyways, what else do we have out there? Any other interesting ones?
Yeah, that's most of them. The one that a lot of people don't think about is just simple extortion, right? So, we're talking about relationships gone bad, or maybe your clients, previous partnerships gone bad. Hey, I've got this photo of, a nude photo or something, and give me money or I'm going to leak it. So a very personal attack.
And that's still a cyber attack. That's still,
100%. Still got a crime, still got a victim.
Yeah, and that's big inside of a lot of circles, but it's big inside of the celebrity circles. It's big inside of all those reputation kind of precarious kind of situations that we deal in.
You got the political environment too. It's just so hot right now that it doesn't have to be a nude photo. It can be a stupid comment and someone grabs it before you take it down and that's it.
And it's ruining your campaign, it's a thorn in your side, and it's, in politics, even on an interpersonal level inside of people's lives too, people still do crimes like this, on the civilian level to each other.
Yeah.
And I guess in school, I haven't really been in that realm, but I'm hearing the whole cyberbullying and kids can't get away from bullying now. They get bullied at school, they go home, they get bullied on social media type thing is becoming more and more of an issue.
Yeah, and the school shooter thing, I've got to wonder too if, popularity has always been a thing in person. and if someone's getting, 20,000 followers on Instagram and some lonely kid's not getting anything, you got to imagine that to them is probably the same kind of feeling as in person.
Yeah, it's kind of
I'm off, and just that's what it takes,
Yeah, and that is actually a consideration, especially everyone's like hanging out at school, and it's like a little badge of courage. It's like you used to get stars in trash in first grade when you're doing good. Now like how many likes you have on whatever. And I know I've heard a lot in some of my psychology classes that kids are using, like, adults are on Facebook and Instagram. Like, kids are using all these like weird little social media platforms that other people, that the parents don't know about. The adults don't even like have any idea what the heck that is. And they're doing all their little weirdness on there, or being hunted on there. And, let's talk about that a little bit, about kids wandering off and kind of being hunted, man. I mean, I know you've dealt with that stuff.
It's like a predator's candy shop, all these online applications. And, I don't think there's enough being done as far as due diligence to make sure that account creators are who they are online, right? I think that the companies should be held accountable for that. But it's so easy to go grab a kid online now with all these applications that are coming out, the Snapchats and TikTok I'm hearing about now. And
TikTok, what's this TikTok?
I guess TikTok is kind of like, you remember Vine?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I hear that TikTok is kind of like Vine / Snapchat. It was musically converted over. But it's marketed towards teenagers and young kids.
Yeah.
And, what a better place for a creep to hang out, right, than some of these applications, and to say that he's 13, 14 years old.
Yeah. And he's masked, and there's like a target rich environment, and there's invariably going to be psychologically vulnerable, starving for energy, attention, little human beings running around in there.
Right.
That aren't guarded and just want to.
We don't know where he's at.
Yeah. We don't know where he's at, and they just want to like be invited somewhere and be wanted and feel cool and all these different things. And it's too easy. That sounds way too easy. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, way too easy. And the lack of supervision, like, I know it's got to be, I'm not a parent, but I know it's got to be tempting as heck to like throw a phone at your kid and be like, yo, I got stuff to do. Like, play with this. You know what I mean? That's got to be tempting. But man, I got to be honest, it's like scares the heck out of me.
I agree 100%. I have no clue how I'm going to do that either. When I'm a parent, I have no idea.
Yeah. In my ignorance, I'm like, I'm going to have some kind of safeguards and parameters on those devices. I think, Do you know of any tools that are good for that, for any of the parents listening? Or
there's a bunch of native settings now in your Android or Apple that you can monitor. You can deny access to those applications in the first place. But the problem is that with smart schools and STEM education and everything, everyone's getting online now, and if they're not doing it at home, it's in the classroom.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to. We're always going to be behind in cyber. Always going to be behind.
It's like that.
Yeah.
All right. Because we're going to have to build TTPs based off what they do.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. We're just going to have to work harder, and it's always going to be reactive, like the school shooter stuff. We can monitor events and we can monitor social media all day long. But, when that kid goes sideways, now we're reacting to the threat.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I don't know, like kind of excited about that I'm doing with my company is the getting into doing like a case conceptualization on someone who does do something that warrants attention, and looking for clusters of behavior and things like that online to try to be proactive about these things. Does this person have the means to attack us that we can see here? This guy who made a weird threat against their client does have these guns, is at the range training. He has made a number of different references to, having animosity against these groups, these culture groups that my client may be a part of, or just in general. Or, look at these like 8 posts. This does showcase like that he might be emotionally unstable. You know what I mean? Like, and like, whilst some of it may not be like permissible in court, or while some of it may not be, the validity of a lot of it, because it is a case conceptualization and theoretical kind of presentation, is still arguable. I feel like it really does give us a good understanding of who we're dealing with if it's done right. And it's a good bit of diligence to do so that when you do see that person in the crowd, you're acting with a little bit more of a knowledge base than you would be if we hadn't extracted that information and taken a little bit of time to analyze that person.
Yeah, 100%. So that's the good side of the intelligence and the internet, is that it's good on both fronts. We can kind of see our threats coming. Mm-hmm. In some instances, and it's just like how someone would telegraph their body movement, right? Yep. Before an attack, maybe you pick up on those little cues, and we can do that now because of the internet.
Yeah.
So you might catch wind of something.
Because a lot of these shooters, with regards to these workplace violence and active shooter situations, they kind of telegraphed their trash before they did it. It's a very high percentage of them, if I remember correctly, before going to shoot the church up or whatever they did. We're talking about kind of how they really disagreed with this, and there's pictures of them with their AR-15 or whatever gun they did the crime with. And there's all this kind of data that if someone who's had the right mindset and training looked at their account prior to these incidents, they could have recognized a lot of these. And now that there's more incidents like this, security professionals are being trained on what signs to look for. In fact, corporations, and I've got something that I'm going to be teaching soon for a corporate client, and it's all about recognizing these types of things.
What a good market too. I mean, for your listeners and for you is, have that education before.
Yeah. I would say go so far as to say that educating your workplace, like injecting into the culture of, your school, your company, the understanding of, the types of things to look for on social media. If this person's posting aggressive things and violent things, it's kind of not really necessarily to be taken lightly. Johnny just got fired or expelled from school and he seems really angry. Maybe the security officer at school or the corporate security officer should look at that person's social media, for a little while, just kind of see what kind of stuff Johnny's going home and posting, Yeah, solid. What would be the hardest lessons you've learned in this cybersecurity realm, man?
It's too easy to be complacent, just like in physical security. Sometimes you're like, too much is too much, and you give a little.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do the whole like super paranoid, erase my whole digital footprint.
Yeah.
I've tried, and it's hard, and it just kind of makes you crazy. So,
yeah.
But there's a certain level, you got to operate in that condition orange. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to always be on your toes, and something's always happening, whether or not you can see it. Mm. So yeah, just don't give up too much of your data, your personal stuff. Know your threat model and what you're putting out there. If you're not afraid to lose it, don't worry about it, but expect to be hacked or breached or targeted at some point. You got to always operate with that mindset, just like in the physical world.
Yeah.
You walk down that dark alley, you might get jumped one day.
Yeah. Well, we don't do all this preparation. Like I'm not in my brain being like, I hope this never happens. Like I'm literally in my brain when I'm at the range, when I'm at the gym, when I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm literally like, when this goes down, I'm about to go to, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm like in my brain all day, like, all right, we're about to hit this door. I'm going to check all my hard points. And if someone's standing over here, I want to be standing here so that I have the drop on them here. If they do this, like we're going to the vehicle, I'm sending this guy out first, just going ahead, take a look. Like I'm expecting something to happen all the time, and you end up generating enough bandwidth to do that and look relaxed and keep everyone cool. But kind of with this cyber thing too, like if you're in the game, I guess that is the mindset, man. Expect to be attacked at some point, huh?
Right. And now with the Internet of Things too,
Internet of Things?
Yeah.
Like, how do you mean?
Oh man, the Amazon Echo, the smartwatches, the Ring doorbells, we're opening up all these avenues of attack.
That's true. So is this Ring doorbell a bad thing?
No, I like Ring. I think it's, you got to imagine you're putting thousands of cameras on the street, potentially. Like that is a huge resource for, communities coming together and people who care about security.
That's true.
Starting to become aware of it, which I think is the biggest thing about Ring is that people do it for their own security. And in doing that, you're creating a community of people that care.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The connectivity is on point. What about these ones that like unlock the door if you put a certain code in?
Man, that's like me duplicating my key and giving it out to the world and being like, just try it. You know what I mean?
Just try it.
Yeah, the more you connect to the internet, the more avenues of attack that you're opening.
Yeah.
I don't use any of those smart kind of things. It's just they're a little spooky to me.
Those kind of too smart kind of things. Like, let's just make sure we have mechanical locks on stuff too, guys.
Yeah, but then you got people picking locks, so it's like same thing in cyber.
Yeah. Okay. Get Dodge mount turrets that have motion sensors. Fine. Right. Jeez, man. What about Apple, man? Like, is a MacBook, not that I have a MacBook. You guys don't need to know about that. But is a MacBook, like, all this stuff about how it's got the most gangsterous protection in the game, is that a real thing, or come on, man?
Yeah, so we're talking about like access to your, like if someone gets your device in hand, right? Is it secure? Uh-huh. If you elevate your security settings on your Android or your Apple devices, and by that I mean, you turn on the extra stuff, so instead of the 4-digit, you're using the 6 or the 10, if you're using all good security practices, let's just call it that.
Okay. If you're responsible,
you're probably okay. We've come a long way in security, and Android and Apple are leading that market. As long as you're practicing good security practices, I would say that you're okay from most people.
Yeah. Okay, cool. For most people, because realistically, your street dudes aren't going to know this stuff. The guys that probably are going to steal your stuff probably aren't going to know this stuff.
Right.
In order for you to, this is theoretically, so don't be saying Byron said, like, you know what I mean? Like, but like, in order for you to run into someone who has a knowledge base to really like ruin your day and your stuff goes missing, you probably are swimming on a level. You're probably a big enough fish to where it's worth it to bring in a specialist like that. Is there any other like best method for cyber protection or best practices that we could leave folks with? Like, what do you do? It sounds like education is the primary.
Yeah. When it comes to
just safeguarding your stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say education is huge. One of the first things that corporations will do to prevent hackers and data breaches is they just educate their staff. This is what a funny email looks like. This is, what social engineering is, that guy wearing the fake costume walking in, not scanning his badge, the kind of things that you're dealing with. Use good, strong passwords, change them frequently. We could get real deep on that on the privacy side, but good passwords, unique to each site. Use encryption if you have it for your devices, your phones, your computers. Definitely use encryption. Protect your home network. Don't leave it open. Obviously, right? We're learning all these things as we go along.
Because people can get into your home network and jack your stuff.
God, yeah.
See?
Yeah, I mean, that's like running everything. That's like you giving your phone to me and saying, go to town.
Really?
You connect to my network. So, you can, most routers are doing a pretty good job today on protecting your home network as long as you use good, strong password. But you can certainly add in firewalls and network hardware to strengthen your home network. But that's something that we see elevated clients or executives doing.
Okay. And you can get jammed up getting on public Wi-Fi. How safe is public Wi-Fi?
It's getting better, but again, you want to only connect to the devices that you know and trust.
Okay.
Because if it's not some creeper dude watching that network traffic, it's some company or someone else, right? It's your internet service provider, or it's the Hilton that you're connected to, or someone's watching that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. And then I think the other huge takeaway is, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to what you're posting. You know what I mean? Like, if I really wanted to get up in your trash, I'll go on your social media, and I'm not even a bad guy. Like, I don't even do this all day, on my couch with Jerry Springer on the background. I'm just saying, like, how hard would it be to go on there if I was a gun guy, look at your last, like my dude was talking about, look at your last, 50, 60 posts, be like, yo, this dude got this gun, what I want, a little broken English in there just to spice it up, and then I'm like, okay, cool. What's his workflow? What's his day look like? Seems like he's going to the gym every day at this time. Seems like he's leaving at that time. Seems like the gun's probably at his house at this time or that time. Where does he live? There's all these pictures. Look at him in the front yard when he first got his new car, or it's whatever it is. This is possibly, you could probably do this better than I could. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, I'm just like speeding through this thing, and who are his relatives, look at all their social media platforms, see what other information I can gather about like who all the family members are, where you actually stay at. Did you geotag any of these pictures that you took? Are you taking the geotags off? When I say geotag, you checking in at places? You ever check in at your house? You ever check in at your job, pimping? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, and then next thing you know, I'm just kind of knowing when I can break into your house and get into and get whatever it is I want, you know, like, and that's just, you know, these are considerations, and there's people doing this around the clock all over the world.
Yeah. Being a criminal used to be hard, man.
Right? You know,
It used to be hard.
Those are my main considerations. Anything you want to, in closing, you know, put out there for people to think about?
Yeah, just, you know, be careful with your stuff, but know that there's, you know, good guys out there doing their job too. I want to just bring light, you know, you had Ed on the show talking about human trafficking and kidnapping. That's going on all over the internet.
Now, is that only happening in Mexico, or is that happening in the United States?
Oh man, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Human trafficking is, you know, slavery. It's sex slavery. It's, you know, kid slavery. You know, it's almost disturbing how much I see human trafficking related. It is so rampant everywhere.
Man.
I mean, it's not even like, did you hear of? It's like, no, this is happening all the time. And most of these people are found, in my experience, online, you know. So you find that girl who's maybe not as confident as she wants to be, and you start cultivating this person and grooming them to be a victim in the sex trade. You know?
And how does this go down? Like, human trafficking incident, standard, vanilla, how does it go down? Not that any of them are vanilla, but like, what's it usually look like, if you don't mind me asking?
Standard.
Yeah.
Some dude starts paying attention to a girl. Before you know it, she feels special, and then she's willing to do stuff for money. And during that time, she's subject to abuse and emotional abuse, physical abuse. And then before they know it, they're enslaved.
Is he like kidnapping this chick?
Sometimes it happens. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. But most of the time, or a lot of the times, you wouldn't necessarily know what's going on.
Like, it's going on in your house to your daughter, and you don't know that this is happening.
Yeah. You think she's going out with her friends or her boyfriend, and she's being sold to multiple men per night, or women, or whatever.
That is mortifying.
Huge. Yeah. It's like, you know, a lot of people are bringing light to this now, but it's been going on for a long time. It's so easy now with the internet.
Wow. And drugs, like, do they play a huge part in it usually, or is it kind of a mind game more often than not?
You know, I'd say it starts off as a mind game, and then it kind of evolves into introducing drugs and as a way of manipulation, right? As a way of control. So, you know, we know that drugs have effect on the brain.
Yeah.
And if you can control someone and basically their whole life, and then you start drugging them up, you've got a perfect.
You've got them.
Perfect, mix there.
And this is like, I mean, I heard some crazy thing that like California, or maybe it was Arizona, was like the capital for this type of stuff in the U.S. Like,
I believe that. Yeah, I don't know stats. I just know that like we come across it way too much.
Man,
way too much. And if we don't see true evidence of it, or that it's going down, we see the, you know, the poaching for it. We see the initial conversations that kind of start popping up about it. And that's where it's scary. So,
and what's like a demographic, like a target demographic, victim demographic on that?
Age varies, but I'd say, you know, middle school, high school. Really? Yeah. Middle school, high school is where it kind of starts. It's basically when you get that first cell phone, when you've got access to the rest of the world and the people that are doing this. Yeah.
And that's happening. Like, we're talking underage stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And well, yeah, I mean, every age, but it starts young. Yeah.
That's gnarly. Yo, watch your devices and watch the people you love.
Yeah. Yeah. Just be careful, you know, protect yourself, protect your family, be aware of what your kids are doing on their phones, or their computers. Have those conversations, you know, make them aware of what's going on.
If someone wanted to go and find some resources for equipping themselves with knowledge, not to become a victim of these types, or how to protect their families, do you have any resources you can suggest real quick?
Yeah. My main workflow, I'd say Google it, start searching for what are the most common hacking related incidents, or, you know, how is social media used to fight crime, those kind of things. There's plenty of resources online, and I can't think of any off the top of my head,
Yeah.
But for corporations, the free webinars and stuff for, hey, this is what your HR department needs to watch to prevent phishing attacks and resources like that.
Yeah. Good to go, man. Well, geez, it's been good, Eric. It's been good talking to you about this stuff, man. What are you up to these days, and where can people find you, brother?
So I'm still doing my 9 to 5. I just put my website up tonight. Hopefully it's up and running by the time this hits. You can just go to erichschmidt.com. It's ErichSchmidt.com. And it's just going to be a one pager for how to get a hold of me. Getting on social media for branding purposes. And I know people are going to be like, what?
That's the game, man.
I know.
That's where the eyeballs are right now.
That's it. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at DFIR_Eric. DFIR_Eric.
Awesome.
And there's nothing up there yet, but we're going to be working together and building a brand and talking about cybersecurity and helping people out.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we got a lot more stuff to do, man. It's definitely going to be good to go. All right, y'all. Hey, well, we will, let's see here. We got some stuff coming up. Going to have stand by for the Executive Protection Lifestyle first event. That's coming up.
Yes.
Check the website for that. It's going to be awesome. We got some good people coming to speak at that. It's just it's going to be awesome. I'm excited. I'll give you guys dates on it soon. And that's it, man. Thanks for joining us, y'all. Thanks for joining us, Eric. It was an honor. And I'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure, man.
Thank you so much, Byron.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Boom. And to support this podcast, go to executiveprotectionlifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events and just expand the contribution to the private security industry, and also to making America a safer place by teaching people how to protect themselves and the mindset behind that, the lifestyle behind that. You guys are already killing it. $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can do that you would probably just lose in the mattress anyway or spend on McDonald's. Hey, you want to put it towards something that's going to good use, put it towards a podcast, and get involved in our Patreon account at executiveprotectionlifestyle.com. And if you want to find me, that's ByronRogersMotivation.com. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can to that Patreon account, because it makes all of these things possible, ladies and gentlemen. So much love. Thank you, and thank you for making those contributions. You guys rock. We're already doing amazing there, and it's just because of you guys. So thanks once again for those contributions. Boom. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast. This whole entire thing actually just started off as a Facebook group that blew up and is one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing, executive protection Facebook group online. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group, join the Facebook group. Follow us on Instagram and check us out at executiveprotectionlifestyle.com. If you want to find me, that's ByronRogersMotivation.com, and I'm on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well. So until the next podcast, y'all, stay sharp out there. And as I say it, one mind, many weapons. Talk soon. Out.